Hello my friends, it's Lisa and welcome to a very exciting journaling video. This is going to be me setting up my reading journal for this year, for 2022, and I'm super excited to share this with you all. This is going to be my first official reading journal, which is really exciting. I've tracked my reading in my other journals, like in my normal bullet journal, and I tested out last year for like a few months having these kind of reading journal spreads in another journal, and I really enjoyed having them, so I decided this year to just set up a whole journal dedicated to reading and keeping track of my reading and all of that. Also, make sure you stay tuned until the end of the video because I will do a final flip through of all the spreads, and I also show them, some of them filled in, as well as my January spreads. I wanted to show what those would look like, so make sure you stay till the end for the final flip through. So this journal that I'm using for my reading journal this year is actually from Michaels. Michaels is great if you're starting out bullet journaling, or if you have a journal that you're not quite sure if you're going to commit to throughout the whole year, because obviously I've never had a reading journal before, so I don't know if I'm going to keep up with it throughout the whole year. So I didn't want to invest in like a $30 journal for this just because that seemed a bit excessive. So Michaels has a ton of great options. They actually have created a journal that has a bit of thicker paper. I used to have a Michaels journal for my bullet journal in 2019, and the paper in this one that I'm using currently for my reading journal is a lot better quality. The pages are a bit thicker and they come in so many different colors and textures and things like that, so you could definitely find a journal that you love. But that is the journal that I decided to go with for my reading journal, and I decided I'll talk a little bit about what I'm actually doing, I suppose. So for this page, this is my quote page for the start of the year. The first spread, the first like dotted page in this journal is on the right hand side, and the left hand side was actually a key, which a key is very helpful if you're doing like traditional bullet journaling for, different tasks and if they've been canceled or moved or anything like that. But I figured with this journal, I'm not going to be really using a key like that. This is going to be my own sort of thing. I'm not really using the traditional bullet journaling method with this journal. So I decided to kind of cover up that key page and make a quote page instead. And the quote that I decided to go with for the quote page at the beginning of this journal is "Stories offer 1,000 fresh starts." It is a quote from Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare, and I just really love that quote, so that is what I decided to go with. So I'm just using a bunch of different craft paper to kind of layer up on all of these spreads, and I also printed out a page of a book from Google Images because I couldn't commit to actually ripping out a page of a book. I don't know why, but I couldn't do it, so I just printed out a page from a book. I don't know what book it was, I just liked the way that it looked, so printed that out and then ripped up those pages as well to kind of add to the layering effect in these spreads. I go in with a bunch of different washi tapes and stickers. I just kind of went all in with all the stationery. I've gotten a lot of stationery over the past few months with Christmas, and I had advent calendars that were stickers, so I really just wanted to use a lot of my new stationery and stickers and things like that. So that is what I did, and on the right hand side I just wrote 2022 reading journal. This is kind of like the title page for the beginning of the year spreads for this journal, and I'm just really happy with how those spreads came out. So the next spread is going to be where I keep track of my reading goal for 2022. So I decided to set my goal for 65 books. That's what I'm going to try to read in 2022. I am pretty confident I will be able to reach that. I have read over 65 books the past couple of years, so I figured that that would be a goal that would be something to, keep me motivated to read throughout the year, but nothing too over the top and too crazy, just because I don't want my reading goal to be something that completely stresses me out. I am simply stressed enough in my life. I don't need to be stressed over anything else. So I wanted to keep my reading goal pretty reasonable, but also something that can keep me motivated to read throughout the year. So I just drew 65 boxes, and I go in with the number for each box as well. And I did mess up at one point. I did like 40 and then I wrote 40 again instead of 41. I don't know why sometimes I struggle to count when it comes to journaling, but anyway, just drew 65 boxes. I also wrote down completed at the bottom of the spread as well, so that I can write the date where I complete the reading goal. So I'll be able to see how far into the year it takes me to read 65 books. I thought that that would be kind of a cool thing to see. And once again, going in with more washi tape, more stickers and all of that, just to kind of add to the layering effect. And on the right side of this spread is going to be my 5-star predictions. So the past few years, I've made a list of books that I predict I'm going to read that year that will be 5 stars, and I wanted to do it again this year. I obviously don't fill this spread out in this video because I don't want to spoil that video. I will be posting that hopefully in January, so you will see that soon, but I just wanted a place to keep track of the books that I put on my 5-star list for this year so that I can see if they actually are 5 stars and also make sure that I'm reading them throughout the year. And yeah, it's just going to be a place to kind of keep track of the books that I'm reading on this list and if they're 5 stars or not. So my next spread is going to be my own Tbr spread, and this is one that I do show kind of filled out by the end of this video through the flip through, but I just want to keep track of all of the books that I physically own so that I can actually see the progress I'm making and actually make sure I'm actively trying to read the books that I own. I'm, buying them and receiving them as gifts from people, and I just want to make sure that I'm not just, adding and then reading one. I want to make sure that I'm actively making the number of books that I own a little bit smaller and smaller. I know the books that I own is a lot smaller compared to other people, other booktubers, but I get overwhelmed with the amount of books that I own, so I definitely want to make sure that I'm making some progress in my own TBR and reading them. The next spread is going to be my series to finish spread, so I really just wanted a place to keep track of all of the series that I've started and try and actually finish some of them. I've started a lot of series that have completed over the past couple of years, and I want to make sure that I actually finish the ones that I've started that I want to complete. There are a couple of books and series on this list that have new books coming out in like 2022, or they're still maybe ongoing, but most of them are ones that have already finished that I want to continue to read and finish off. So I think this is going to be a really helpful spread. I also show this spread kind of filled out at the end as well, but it's definitely a goal of mine for 2022 to finish a lot of the series that I've started because I'm in the middle of so many series. There's also series that I'm reading that are still ongoing. I'm like caught up, but are still kind of being released. So between that and the book series that I've started that have completed, I'm in the middle of so many, so I definitely need to make some progress there, and I'm hoping that having that spread will be really helpful in finishing off those series. Alright, so the final spread that I'm showing me setting up is my books read spread. So I'm going to have a few pages like this where I am just going to have a picture of every single book that I read throughout the year and just have a place to kind of see that overview. I'm going to print out the book cover, maybe put the star rating as well, and just do that for every single book that I read throughout the year. I thought it would be a cool way to track the books that I read throughout the year. Alright, I'm going to quickly flip through my beginning of the year spreads in my reading journal as well as my January spreads as well, just so you guys can kind of see overall what my monthly setups are going to kind of look like throughout the year. I don't think I'm going to film monthly setups for this journal every single month, but I hopefully at the end of the year will do like a flip through of what this journal looks like once it's all filled out, once I add everything that I want to add and everything. So I feel like a flip through at the end of the year is going to be what I do instead of doing monthly setups. So that'll be a way for you guys to see it. So let's just get into it. So for this journal, there's actually a contents page or a few pages at the beginning of the journal, which I think is going to be really helpful if I write like thoughts on a book, like a book review or things like that. I can quickly like reference what page it's going to be on if I need to look back at it for any reason, like for a video or anything. So I actually feel like these pages might come in handy. Then let me just get rid of this actually. So this is my kind of title page for the whole journal for the year, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. I feel like they mirror each other quite well without being exactly the same. And I did cover up the key over here, which I feel like I probably talked about this already in the voiceover, but yeah, I didn't think I would use the key. So I covered it up with the quote page, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. Then we have my reading goal page and my 5-star predictions page. My reading goal for the year is 65 books, so I'll just write down when I complete that, which hopefully will be some point this year. And then for my 5-star predictions page, I haven't written anything down for a couple of reasons. One, I haven't completely finalized what books I want to be on this list, so I didn't want to write anything down yet. But also, two, I'm going to be doing a video where I talk about my 5-star predictions for 2022, so it would be kind of a spoiler for that video, so I've just left it blank for now, but that video will be coming by sometime in January, I'm sure. So next we have my owned TBR here, which is one of the spreads that I have actually filled out or started to fill out. I do think I already have some books to add to this list, so that's a little concerning because we only have this page left. But I think that that might be like a nice, fun challenge for me this year to try not to exceed these 2 pages for my own TBR and kind of just keep it somewhat under control. I know for a lot of people and a lot of booktubers, this is not nearly as bad. I think I have like 40 books listed here, which is not bad compared to a lot of other people, but I'm the type of person that gets overwhelmed with my TBR very, very easily. I know a lot of people like having a lot of options, which I'm kind of the same way. Like I do like having a lot of options, but I also know that if my TBR gets super out of control and I end up having a lot of things, it just makes me feel overwhelmed and then I don't read anything. So I like to keep my own TBR a little bit more reasonable. So I definitely want to work on getting through my physical TBR this year. I know a lot of years in the past few years, especially since I've started a booktube channel, I've, read some of the things I've owned, but I've also added to my TBR as well. So the number kind of stays the same from the start and end of the year. And this year I really want to try and get that number down regardless of whether I'm adding and like canceling it out. I want to just read a lot of my physical TBR this year. So that's the goal. So next up, I have my series to finish spreads. So these are all of the series that I've started that have completed or are close to being completed so that I can kind of try and finish off a lot of the series that I've started. I'm in the middle of a lot of series because this is just the ones that are almost done or have completely finished. I am in the middle of a lot of series that are still being published, so I have a lot of series to complete and I just kind of wanted to be able to track that and make some progress in these series this year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and color in, how many of the series I've read. So like for the Diviners, I've only read the first one, so I'll color in that circle and it'll just be a good way to keep track of the series that I've read and making sure I'm actually making progress in them and finishing them off. I do have like The Last Magician here, which there is a 4th book coming out in 2022, but I have the 2nd and 3rd one to read as well. So I just put The Last Magician series here. I haven't decided if I'm gonna put series that are still ongoing on this page yet, but I figured I would just start with these and try and make my way into some of the series that are completed. I just have to get caught up. And then we have my final spreads for the beginning of the year setup. These are going to be where I keep track of all of the books that I've read throughout the year. In my other bullet journal, I can actually show you really quickly. This is more of my just like general life bullet journal. This is where I keep track of the books I read. I think it's just going to be something more so for memories to be able to look back and see what books I read in the year. So for this journal, this reading journal, I wanted to do something different. So for these spreads, I'm just going to print out a book cover of every single book that I read throughout the year. I probably, again, talk about this in the voiceover, but I did only show this page. So I did add 5 more, or I have 5 pages like this in total, and I switched up the washi tape and added some craft paper to the spreads as well. I think this one is my favorite. I just like the combination of the colors and the washi tape, but yeah, I have 5 of those spreads in total. I just want to give myself plenty of room and space to print out the book covers depending on how many I read. I just want to make sure that I have enough space for all of that. So those are the final beginning of the year spreads. So now we can get into my January setup. So yeah, like I was saying, I don't think I'm going to film my monthly setups for this journal, but I do want to do a flip through at the end of the year so you can kind of see the completed journal. But here are my January spreads. Let me get that away as well. So this is the kind of title page and my TBR spread, and I just had so much fun setting up these spreads. I feel like it's going to be really nice to just take the time to do this kind of on my own and not film it and just really journal on my own and just take that time to relax, because this was so much fun setting up. I think I set it up last night when I'm filming this flip through. I just really enjoyed being able to kind of experiment with different stationery and layering, and I don't really do this kind of scrapbook style of journaling much in my other journal. I typically do more like doodling, drawing in that journal for the themes, so I feel like this journal is where I'm going to be able to really experiment and try different types of things, maybe do more of the layering scrapbook type of look with my spreads for this journal, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I love the big picture for the title page and everything like that. I might do that just for every single month in this journal, but we'll see. I'm not going to commit to doing something every single month because I might want to change it up, but I just really like the way that this ended up looking. Then I have my book spread page. So this is going to be where I keep track of all of the books that I read throughout the month and the author and the star rating, as well as just going to be a nice overview of everything that I've read. Then we have my favorite quotes page. So any quote from a book that I read in January that I just really like, I will put here. I'm so excited for these spreads because I feel like I'm constantly writing down quotes like in my notes app or just like on random scraps of paper and things like that to kind of remember for later. So I think it's going to be really nice to have a place to write down quotes in just like one place. And like I said, I did try out doing some reading journal spreads last year for a few months, and this was one of my favorite spreads to fill out. So I knew I wanted to include it again in January. But that's it. That's actually the final spread. So I'm excited to see where the month takes me because I'm thinking, you know, each month I can do like book reviews or kind of aesthetic collages for the books that I read, or whatever I want to do in these spreads going forward, I can do. I'm really excited to see where this journal takes me and what I do with it, because I'm really leaving it up for me to just kind of experiment and track my reading, but also have it be like a fun, creative thing as well. So yeah, I think that's why it'll be fun to do a flip through at the end of the year to see what I do beyond the kind of set monthly spreads that I want to do, what I do kind of beyond that and the things that I add. So yeah, those are my January spreads. Very happy with them. And then that is it for my reading journal as well. But yeah, that is my reading journal setup for 2022. I'm so excited to use this and fill this out throughout the year. I think it's going to be fun to track my reading in this way more than just like on an app. So I'm excited to use this. If you have a reading journal, I would love to know what spreads you included or any goals that you have for the new year, even if you have a reading journal or not. I would love to know whether that's like a numerical goal, like the amount of books you want to read in a year, or just like any other type of bookish goal. Like one of my goals is to make progress in a lot of the series I've started. So I would just love to know any of your reading goals, or if you've had a reading journal this year, what you're doing, what your theme is, the spreads you've included. Just let me know all the things down below in the comments. But I think that's going to be it for my reading journal setup. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.